Hey you guys, it's Peter, and welcome to my channel, Peterisms, where I tell stories of my life and just little things that I have learned as I have grown into the person that I am today. And I actually wasn't going to film a video over here today because I just filmed over here, I think yesterday. And so I was like, well, let's let people catch up on these videos. But I'm trying to film a lot over here this month. So here I am today. You might see me tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday as well. I'm having so much fun getting back over here and reading meditations and just sharing lessons that I've learned about my life. So thank you guys for showing up. I appreciate it. I'd like to get back to posting over here 5 to 6, 7 days a week. So I love this channel so much. And I'm so appreciative of those of you that watch this video consistently and leave comments. It really means a lot to me. So I was sitting downstairs, like I said, and this was not on my list of, I had it as like, maybe this will be, if I get done early, then maybe I'll film a video over here today. But I was like, I feel like when I read yesterday's meditation, there was, like, today's meditation was something that, like, when I looked at it, I don't know if I mentioned it in the video or if I just, like, thought it to myself. I was like, oh, I want to read this meditation and see what it's about. So I was like, let's look in here today and see what the meditations say for October 16th. See if it triggers my memory a little bit of what meditation I was thinking of. I think it's in the language of letting go. So let's look in here at October 16th and see. These glasses are, hold on a second. These glasses they are so dirty today. I've been taking them off and putting them on. And actually, no, this is not my last video that I'm filming for today. I have 2 more videos that I'm going to be making after this. I have a box down here to do an unboxing for my Peter Does Stuff channel. And then I'm going to also be doing a review video and then my vlog. So, yeah, I felt like I needed to take a little meditational break and read some meditations. So anyway, okay. It's going to be interesting to see if this meditation is something that I remember looking at from yesterday. I read Journey to the Heart. Was that yesterday or was it the day before? Let me look in here and see. October 15th. Oh, it was yesterday. Discover the Power of Vulnerability. That was yesterday. Okay. What's today's? Go for the ride of your life. So it wasn't in Journey to the Heart that I was thinking about that meditation. It must have been in the language of letting go. So let's look and see what today's is. I'll probably look at it and be like, why did I think this would be a good one to read? October 16th, being honest with ourselves. Was that it? Yesterday's was letting go of chaos. The one before that was controlling versus trust. Let's actually read letting go of chaos because this is something I have worked so hard on since I got sober. And then we will go into being honest with ourselves. Letting go of chaos, October 15th, and this is from the language of letting go. No good work comes from unrest. Unrest, fear, anger, or sadness may motivate us. These feelings are sometimes intended to compel action. But our best work emerges after these feelings have been replaced by peace. We will not accomplish our task any sooner or any better by performing it out of a sense of urgency, fear, anger, or sadness. Let go of unrest. Let peace fill the void. We do not have to forfeit our power, our God-given personal power, or our peace to do the work as we are called upon to do today. We will be given all the power we need to do what we are meant to do when it is time. Let peace come first. Then proceed. The task will get done naturally and on time. Today, I will get peaceful first and let my work and life emerge from that base. Love this so much. And it's so interesting that I said that I'm doing this kind of in the middle of my day, you know? The concept of chaos is interesting to me because I can remember like going to see my first therapist after I got sober. And one of the things that he brought up to me was this idea of growing up in chaos, which I had heard about before, but I didn't really know that much about. And that was something then that I took to, like, you know, doing step work and whatever, but really talked a lot about it in therapy when I first got sober, this idea of growing up in chaos. I was actually talking about this on my vlog the other day, that, you know, I talk a lot about growing up in an alcoholic home, that my mother being an alcoholic and growing up in that. But I think sometimes I give kind of a misconception when I just say I grew up in an alcoholic home. And I don't know if it makes it better or worse, it's just my story, is that my mom's drinking was not that she drank every day. And it was that I never knew when she was going to drink. Some days, many days in a row, walked in on it being like, watching Little House on the Prairie and having chili dinner and her reading me a book and tucking me into bed. I would say most nights were like that. And then there would be the random day where I would come in and I wouldn't know it. And sometimes I didn't even know it till years later when I would talk to my mom about it. But like she would have had an argument on the phone with my dad. The years of them going through the divorce was really, really difficult for my mom. And so like some phone conversation would have happened, or she would have got a phone call from her attorney or something like that. And then like one of her friends would have come over and they would start drinking early in the day. By the time I came home and I was around, it was just like, her having depression combined with drinking, which was her way of medicating it, I think combined together, she just couldn't show up on those days. The part of the chaos for me was that I never knew what I was walking into. And like I said, those days were few and far between, but there were enough of them that I didn't know. I knew the signs early on. Like if I walked in and my mom was very quiet, I said this in my vlog the other day. I said, we have a lot of conversations about like what we should tell kids as far as like if you have an alcoholic that's going to treatment or what. Kids know. That's a personal decision that you have to make in your own home and your own family. But kids know. Kids are very perceptive. I was very perceptive. I knew the signs. Like I could tell you like probably at 5 or 6, like if my mom had been drinking, I couldn't say she's been drinking for 2 hours and I know that for a fact, but I could tell you like, if you had asked me, and nobody asked me, but I knew like when she was at the beginning of her drinking, or if she'd been drinking for several hours, or like if she was I knew, like I would come into it and I'd be like, oh, mom's been drinking for a while. Or like, and it was never like I was scared for my safety. I never felt like that. I just was scared I didn't know like how things were going to go. And I was very protective of my mom. So her sadness or depression combined with her drinking for me was something that as a child, I was super, super protective of. And then it was keeping the secrets on top of that. I also was talking in my vlog the other day about growing up in an environment where divorces in my neighborhood were not super prevalent. And so my mom had a lot of shame associated with that. And she would talk about being like the divorcee of the neighborhood. And so I can remember going to school and people saying things about like, well, your parents are divorced because your dad doesn't love you kind of thing. It was like not a lot of that, but I can definitely remember that like I felt different than a lot of the other families, especially when we would do activities about like, well, what did your dad say? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, and my dad was very involved in my upbringing. I've shared this a lot. He called every single day from the day that he left and I was in school to the day I graduated from high school. He called me every morning to make sure I was up for school. He was very involved in my education, knew my teachers and things like that. But even still, I felt like I was different because of that. Add on top of that, of being bullied a lot because I was effeminate and being called gay and things like that, there was a lot of chaos in my life when I was growing up. Well, when you're a child and that's what you're presented, you learn to become used to that. It's almost like you survive better in chaos. That's what my chaos looked like. Somebody else's chaos could look like neglect or abuse. Somebody else's chaos could be 10 kids in a family and they get lost in that. Somebody else's chaos could look like constantly moving from place to place to place. Everybody's chaos looks different. That's just what my chaos looked like. And I became very adept at adapting to chaos. And, I can remember almost like us having to rush to get ready to do something. I'm a good problem solver in situations that are like high chaos and high, like that if we have to, like, I'm very good in that situation. It's almost kind of like I thrive in that situation of chaos because I had to live in it for so long in my life. And I can remember my first therapist presenting this idea of I grew up in chaos. I heard that as a negative. I heard that as, oh, this was a bad thing that you grew up in chaos. And and maybe it wasn't the best choice, but that's how I grew up. I actually think today as a 53-year-old man, I have a lot of strengths in my life because I grew up in chaos. But there became a point in my life, and I've talked a lot to my best friend about this, that I would find chaos in any situation I was in, whether it was a friend group, whether it was a work environment or whatever. I almost kind of sought out chaos, even in relationships. I sabotaged a lot of romantic relationships, a lot of friendships, because it was easier, it almost was kind of like the love didn't mean anything or the relationship didn't have value unless I was fighting for something. I don't know if anybody relates to that, but it was almost like there had to be a fight for something greater if there was any value or worth to that relationship or that environment, if that makes sense. And that comes directly from chaos. What I had to learn was, because like I got together with my husband, he wasn't used to that. My husband, like his family, not a lot of chaos. My family, well, my dad and my stepmom, not a lot of chaos. But my mom's side of the family with my aunt and stuff, a lot of fighting, a lot of chaos, a lot of making up 5 minutes later. That was just kind of how I grew up. So when I got with my husband, Alex, like he wasn't used to that. He wasn't used to like, let's argue and 5 minutes later make up. Like his family is pretty peaceful, pretty serene, you know? And so he wasn't used to that. That was one of the languages that I spoke. And so I really had to do a lot of work through the years on kind of like making it less normal in my life to thrive and live in chaos, to where that wasn't what I wanted anymore. Today, I live in peace and serenity. I've said it a lot in my videos that like, peace and serenity are not a luxury to me. I've worked very, very hard for it. I almost kind of like, when chaos or toxicity comes around me, I almost kind of like repel from it. It's almost kind of like, you know, we talk about in recovery, like, you know, recoil from a hot flame. It's almost kind of like that. Like, I'm almost kind of like, no. Like, if I even sense it from somebody, I'm out. Like, I don't want any part of it. I think, like, one of the phrases we say today is that, like, I don't like confrontation. I don't mind confrontation. I don't mind it at all. I'll have deep conversations with people. I'll have confrontation. But the moment that it's somebody that it's like every phone call, every situation, like, have you ever had anybody show up for you, but they only show up for you? Like, they don't ever just call on a random Tuesday and be like, hey, just thinking about you today, what's going on? But they show up for you in every chaotic situation. That's somebody that thrives on chaos. I appreciate them showing up, but I don't want my life to just be defined by chaos. I would love to have less chaos in my life. You know what I mean? So I've worked very hard. Like, my life is pretty boring, you know? I watch TV shows, I read, I hang out in bed with my husband and the dogs. Like, we take a few trips a year, we hang out with family and friends. That's my life. I like my simple life. I don't like a lot of chaos. I don't have a lot of people in my life today. I like it like that. The smaller my circle, the less chaos there is. I know that the people that are in my life I can trust. I don't need tons and tons of chaos in my life, you know? I can't, I'm not as adept at adapting to chaos as I was when I was growing up, because I got used to living in peace and serenity. And that's how I want to live today. And you have to make the choice, and you have to like get away from it, you know? I don't need all of this sound and noise in my head and trying to figure out what I'm constantly doing. And there was a time like my friend Tanya and I have talked about this, like back in the day with our friend group, even in recovery, like our friend group, there was a lot of chaos of this person dating that person. And, you know, like, oh my God, did you hear about this? And blah, 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 whatever. And it was like, as kind of the friend group kind of dissolved over time because people moved away, people went back out and whatever. Tanya and I realized, like, we were really never part of that. Like, I mean, we participated in it and listened to it, but we were never part of it. And then all of a sudden, it was like our lives got very, very calm. And if you're somebody that's had chaos in your life and you move away from it, that's uncomfortable at first. When you've had a lot of chaos in your life or you grew up in chaos, it's really, really, it's like if you grew up having a lot of toxic relationships, like if you're with your parents, siblings, friends, grandparents, neighbors are all toxic, then you're used to toxic relationships. Therefore, you're going to seek those relationships out. Well, when you have peace and calm, all of a sudden, when you're used to chaos, I wasn't used to it. Like, it was always kind of like, okay, what am I supposed to do? Like, first of all, there's 4 of us now, and nobody's gossiping, like, what do we do? You just enjoy each other's company. The more I got used to having no chaos in my life, the more I got used to having peace and serenity in my life, the more I didn't want any part of it. And I was like, I don't want to participate in it. I don't want it in my life. And today, that's how I am. Today, I'm like, keep it away from me. You know? And I don't know that I'm as good today at being a problem solver in situations like that because I don't have a lot of chaos in my life. I really don't. The tripod fell right as I was getting to the end of this. But what I was saying was that I don't know that I'm very good today at being a problem solver in terms of chaos, because I don't really have a lot of chaos today in my life. So I don't know that I'm as good at it as I once was, you know? But the other thing is that I wanted to say, and like the trick that I've learned through the years, is that when I look back on a lot of chaos that I had, not necessarily in my childhood, I feel like that was put on me and I didn't really have a choice. But as I got older and I was really used to the chaos, then I almost, like I was talking about, I sought it out. Like I sought chaotic relationships. I sought toxic relationships. Like if I have to look at what's my part in that, like I chose to participate in some of that. I chose to participate in a lot of chaos. I don't do that today. Like I have a choice today. When I look back on my life, like I participated in a lot of chaos that quite frankly had nothing to do with me. I wasn't in it. It had nothing to do with me whatsoever. And, and that was really my 20s and things like that. But I look back on it and I'm like, I participated in a lot of chaos and try to be the problem solver. Hey, you call me and I'll help you out and let's figure this out. I mean, I didn't need to participate in that. I don't engage in it today. I don't put myself in the middle. Somebody asks me for help or somebody asks me what I think about something. I'll offer my suggestions or my opinions based on my experience if they ask for it. But I don't engage in that today, and I don't participate in it the way that I used to. I just don't. And if it doesn't have anything to do with me, I don't need to be involved in it today. I used to put myself right in the middle of it back in the day. And I think in retrospect, that was a way of me feeling kind of like I had some self-importance, that like, well, I'm in it too kind of thing. I don't need to be in everything. Not everything's about me, and it doesn't need to be, And so the less chaos I'm engaging in, the less chaos I'm participating in outside of my life, then it's not affecting my life. If chaos comes into my life, which is, just a lot of noise and a lot of stuff going on, I do have some control over that. Today I have a control over what do I participate in, what do I engage in, and I can only control what I can control. I mean, that's something I learned early in recovery, but it's common sense as well. I can only control what I can control. Today, part of me not engaging in chaos is not trying to control situations that I have no ability to control. If it has to do with what other people are saying or what other people are doing, I can't control that. I can only control my reaction to that and my level of participation in it. And I do have a lot of control over those two things. And controlling those two things that only have to do with me have greatly changed the level of chaos by removing it from my life to some level and greatly improving the amount of peace and serenity that I have in my life today. And I want that for everybody, because the more peace and serenity you have, life slows down, you start enjoying things more, you don't take things as seriously unless they really need to be taken seriously, and you really realize that, for me at least, I realized that there was much of my life that, because I grew up in it, I thrived in that kind of chaos, and I just can't do it anymore today. Like I said, I just repel from it. I'm not good at it today. I'm just not, and I don't want it around me. It's not healthy. I think it takes a toll on my mental health, on my physical health, and I think it just takes a toll on my daily happiness. So, great meditation. I'm just going to read that one today. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I love you guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.